Okay, Wednesday, 3rd of December, 2025. So, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Woe to he who denies Bitcoin, for the plague of 1,000 bankers will be upon him. Nicely poetic and somewhat biblical, but it's something I came up with recently and I thought that's beautiful. I want to use that. So, I did a video a few months ago about Rocco's Basilisk, about people having intense level of regret by denying Bitcoin, refusing to study it, understand it. You name it, the first principles, the tech, the maths, the physics, and the computer science behind it. And I did another video 6 months ago as well about the ontological shift, meaning the way people categorize and understand the world through Bitcoin. Meaning it's going to be such Bitcoin itself is such a revolution, nice word to use, but such a change in the status quo. It is so much for some people that for them to deny it, to resist studying it, understanding it, spending, I saw some interesting KPIs like 25 hours or 40 hours a week, things like that, and books and podcasts, whatever, to deny studying it will mean that there will be in their lives, woe, it'll be plagues in the future, meaning regret. Because there's one interesting number I came across recently, which is 41. 41 months. No one who has held Bitcoin for more than 41 months has been in the red, so to speak. Meaning the network is growing constantly, all the time, every single day, even every second it grows at actually a microscopic level. It grows all the time. On a rolling 41-month basis, we can see big changes and growth in the infrastructure, the user base, the price, the hash rate, you name it. The businesses built around it or on top of it and beyond, which is the 200-week moving average essentially. But on a microscopic and a macro level, the network is growing. On a 41-month basis, no one has any regrets. I did some videos about this as well, about the benefits, the unexpected benefits of being on a Bitcoin standard. Priceless, absolutely world-changing, because fundamentally, mankind, you could say, in two ways. In a poetic way, mankind has been waiting for Bitcoin to be invented. Invented, discovered is another whole other conversation. But you could say that. But also at the same time, mankind has never had anything like it. Like in the same way, electricity before candles, candles before electricity, and horses before cars. It's just an idea that was bound to happen eventually. Speaking poetically, it was bound to happen and waiting for it to happen, and no one's looking back. No one goes back and says, oh, we need horses on day-to-day commute. No one says that. Oh, electricity. No, let's use candles. No one says that. Because it's a 0 to 1 technology. It's just so much better than anything else out there. Everything else is just kind of the same but a little different, but this is just 10x different. So there's just no competition, which is also what's called a blue ocean strategy in business. There's no competition. So then we say, right, woe to he who denies Bitcoin, for the plague of 1,000 bankers will be upon him. Again, poetic and biblical, but it's quite poignant, meaning you deny to understand Bitcoin, you're going to continue suffering the plagues, the misfortunes, let's say, of inflation, the status quo. He who denies using cars are going to be limited by the 1 horsepower by definition. 1 horsepower. He who denies electricity is going to be limited by candles and candlelight, things like that. That's the kind of systematic changes we're talking about here by refusing to understand this. And I go deeper into this in that video about the Rocco's Basilisk, where it creates such an extreme level of regret. It'll be too much for some people. It's a whole other conversation. So to understand Bitcoin is powerful. But to go deeper to understand that the network gets stronger and stronger every day, the 200-week moving average is increasing by about $40 to $50 every day. Meaning, if we're to quantify the growth or the adoption, that's how big the network gets over time. There are prices of Bitcoin that you will never see again. $10,000, you will never see that again because it's so far deep below the 200-week moving average. It's just that as lower the price goes, the more buyers there'll be in the market because they recognize the fundamental principles of Bitcoin. That's the important thing to understand as well. You've got the debasement trade happening, so the money printing happening all the time, quantitative easing, inflation, fractional reserve lending and banking happening all the time. It's baked into the system. And over here on the exact opposite with the fixed supply, This is the mean 21 million. Everything divided by 21 million. Again, Bitcoin is maths and code and physics. 21 million, but unlimited supply of money. So as this increases, it's all going to be flooding into these millions of satoshis and billions of millions of Bitcoin and billions of satoshis. So all this means that really the implied price of Bitcoin is infinite. And I heard an interesting meme a year or something ago to say that Bitcoin is range bound right now between $0 and $1 million. But $1 million, yeah, that's round one. That's at least, because there's no limit to how many pounds and dollars can be created, and by extension, or printed. By extension, how many electronic goods, computer hardware, pieces of paper, desks, clothes, glasses, watches, cars, windows, you name it, radiators, carpets, you name it, blades of grass. There's no limit to how many of those that can be created, let's say. No limit. But over here, there's 21 million Bitcoin. So everything has to be repriced, will eventually be repriced in Bitcoin. And how do we say eventually? Because look at the adoption. The 200-week moving average just goes up and up and up, meaning more people are buying Bitcoin. More people are understanding the first principles and adopting Bitcoin and using and utilizing it. The more and more circular economies are using it. And I say in 12 months, so December 2026, certainly by the end of by the end of the decade, 2029, 2030, we will see more nation state adoption and utilization and building upon it, incorporating it into the nation state in some fashion. Because it's the game theory. Everyone wants Bitcoin. I did a video a week or so ago about the hungry hippo stage. Between now and 2035, it's just accumulate. So that is going to be a big incentive for adoption, because we can take a step back and say, right, look at when in doubt, zoom out. Look at the price of Bitcoin, especially on a logarithmic chart. You zoom out and you realize it's nothing but a bull market up and to the where, right into the where, up in that direction. Just look at the historical charts. That is the embodiment of the human action behind Bitcoin. People understanding the first principles, the debasement trade playing out, all the money printing happening, built in, and that is embodied in the price of Bitcoin. I did a video as well a month or two ago about 1,000 charts screaming, meaning just look at anything priced in Bitcoin and it just goes down. Everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. Everything. Yes, some things can outperform Bitcoin on a short term, a month or a daily chart. Yes, sure. But on the long term chart, you've lost. It's a losing game. 41 months. The price of Bitcoin just goes up and up and up. And yes, there are local bear markets and temporary bear market, up and down, up and down, up and down. But it's higher highs and higher lows. You look at the trend, up and to the right. In trading, remember, in finance, you could argue the trend business. The trend is your friend. What's happening? Don't fight the trend. Embrace the trend. And the trend is debasement trade. It is baked into the cake. Maybe in 100 or 200 years, it'll be a different economic system. In 1,000 years, sure. But today, right here, right now, this is what it is. Status quo. The status quo. And over here, the fixed 21 million. What does that mean? 21 million divided by infinity. 21st of October, 21st of August is a nice little meme day for that. 21 divided by infinity. Nice. Bit of culture. But that, to deny Bitcoin is akin to denying this is a reality. I had an interesting principle with regards to strategizing and thinking. What would gravity say? What would evolution say? What would chemistry say? What would the laws of physics say? So here's an idea, here's a concept or a general a thing. And then you can cross-reference that with reality by saying, what would gravity say? You're on top of a building thinking you can fly. Well, that's fine up here. But what does gravity say? In a poetic way. Well, gravity, of course it can't speak, but laws of gravity says you will plummet like a rock or a stone. So then you can say, right, well, what does the laws of finance say? If this debasement trade is baked in and it's standard, meaning inflation is happening all the time, more and more pounds and dollars and euros are being printed, and that's happening. And over here, what does the laws of finance say? What does Keynesian economics say? more money printing. But over here, what does the Bitcoin code say? What does Bitcoin say? 21 million. It's just going to laugh and absorb it. Absorb and absorb and absorb. And that's the long-term play. If you're going to see it as an investment, if you're going to see it as a trade, that's the long-term trade at play here. 4 years. 4 years, 41 months, all general estimations depending on many factors. Hodling and waiting, you've won. And the further into the future you wait, here with the longest time horizon wins, the further into the future you wait, the more cemented that victory becomes. Because I tell you, at a real subtle, real nuanced level, yeah, the price really doesn't matter once you get to a certain point. It just becomes noise, news, tweets, notifications, etc. And it's less and less redundant, less and less important, more and more redundant. Yes, it's important nonetheless, but it's like, oh yeah, what's happening over here? The hash rate, the 200-week moving average, etc. Because to understand at a fundamental level, there's only adoption. There's bull and bear markets and the whole thing in a bull market, but at a deeper level, there's only adoption. There's only adoption. There's only adoption. Meaning education. More people putting in the hours to understand Bitcoin and knowing what it means for life, reality, world, society, culture, you name it. Again, I did a video, the unexpected benefits of being on a Bitcoin standard, the long-term thinking, the hope it inspires, because from an economics lens, now we have a constant. There's a constant that is not being debased with a half-life of infinity, because essentially Bitcoin's inflation is going to go to zero over the next 10 years. That's that Bitcoin gold rush and the hungry hippos I talked about. Because it's going to zero, that means we have a half-life of infinity. But if the half-life of, say, money and gold is, say, 2%, that means the purchasing power is cut in half in 35 years. It's the rule of 72. You take in this case, the inflation rate, 72 divided by the inflation rate, and that's the rate at which we'll cut in half. It's the compounding rate. So in roughly 28 to 35 years, depending on the inflation, the purchasing power is cut in half. I did an interesting experiment. On the UK Bank of England inflation calculator, £10 in 1997 is roughly £20 today. So that means in 25 or so years, 27, 28 or so years, purchasing power is cut in half. Whoa. So that means that pounds in this context have a half-life of 25 or so years, 28, 30 odd years. Again, depending on many seasonalities and technicalities and vectors, price of this, price of that, whatever else. But Bitcoin is the opposite, because it's got a fixed supply, again, debasement trade baked in, fixed supply, no inflation rate eventually, half-life, infinity. That changes all calculations. I did a video on the 24th, 23rd, 25th of November 2024 talking about how businesses, as they understand this, education awareness, 200-week moving average, adoption rate, as they understand this, new business models will be invented, created, discovered, conceived that right now we can't imagine, that will be normal in 5, 10, 15 years, built on top of Bitcoin. I talked about this as well in another video about 6 months ago. I remember I was outside talking and saying things like Apple, when they start accepting Bitcoin, they may start using it in their collateral for loans or using it to pay people or whatever else, or their bonds, whatever, things like that. It's happening. And that's the woe. All this infrastructure, all these smart people, I did a video, this is essentially the shock and awe. You know, if they're getting involved, they're getting involved, and they're getting involved. This company, that trillion-dollar company, and that trillion-dollar company, or that bank and that bank, if they're getting involved, then your criticism is redundant. Oh, this and scammers and whatever else. You can say that and think that, but there's a knowledge gap. There's a delta between you thinking that and the bank over there creating this, or that great investor over there doing this, or that country over there doing this, or that company over there doing this. Is that if you're thinking of putting £10 into it, for example, and yet this company is buying £10 million worth of it, there's a massive delta of knowledge and understanding. Whoa, that delta is education. And that tells you something. If they're willing to do 10 million Why are you questioning £10? The question really should be 100 or 2 or 3 or 1,000 when someone's doing 10 million. They know something you don't. So there's a massive delta. And that's the adoption. So woe to he who denies Bitcoin. Just in the same way, woe to he who denies cars and embraces horses. Woe to he who denies electricity and embraces candles, thinking they're the future, horses and candles for the next 100, 200 years, today, tomorrow, into the future. And that's the ontological shift. People will be left behind thinking it's going to change, it's going to go back to normal. No, Bitcoin won't last. No, Bitcoin won't last. You know, it's going to crash, it's a bubble, blah, blah, blah. And denying themselves education, denying the first principles, denying the fundamentals, not even digging into it, just looking at the surface level, taking the headlines or the sound bites and using that as the basis of their understanding and not going deeper into it. Woe to he, woe to he, woe to he. And the plague, the bankers, that's the inflation. That's the debasement trade. Woe to he who denies Bitcoin, for they'll be subject and plagued and devastated by inflation over the preceding decades. Weeks, months, years, decades. Just in the same way, £10 in 1997 is £20 today. Total destruction of purchasing power. I was watching an interesting show, and there was an interesting clip, and I think it was from 2000, and this person said that this apartment, one 2-bedroom apartment, was something like $400 a month, and that was considered expensive or a lot. And now what's that? It's nothing. But yeah, numerically, in absolute terms, but nonetheless, very powerful, very interesting. So woe to he who denies Bitcoin, for the plague of 1,000 bankers will be upon him. Study, 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 study Bitcoin. Study Bitcoin intently, because your life, your future version of you depends on it. And they'll be thankful beyond high heaven that you did. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Beyond power, it's energy. To be exact, Bitcoin is energy. That's the physics bit. It's atoms. It's a form of money as close as possible to pure energy, putting kilojoules in a bottle. Totally dematerialized, moving around the world. Yeah, that's fundamental to understand. It is the thing to understand. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.